What's going on, y'all? Welcome to Appropriate Culture. Today we're talking about race and racism. Enjoy the show.
Maybe I should have done this. And we're live.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
What do we got on today here?
In the teacup.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got some Egyptian licorice, yogi tea, and you've got the turmeric ashwagandha tea. Actually can't remember the company's name.
You were thinking of
Vadam?
Vadam?
Yeah, Vadam teas. Yeah.
Vadam tea, delicious.
Yeah, it's new to me. I don't know how old the company is.
I enjoy the tea bags.
Oh yeah. It's ashwagandha and turmeric, which are two of the most anti-inflammatory and highest antioxidant foods you can eat. So I figured I'd give you a little health boost.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Of course, you gotta stay healthy. It's
Always.
very important today.
How's your health
these days? I feel like it's getting better and better all the time. I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease in 2016, celiac disease in 2001. But I don't take pharmaceuticals. If I get a bad flare up, I'll take cannabis oil. But yeah, so I'm all about health. I'm juicing all the time, drinking tea, doing yoga, qigong. I actually missed my yoga class today, which is super bummer. Yeah, but
yeah.
Anyway,
well, you can always still squeeze it in before the day ends.
Yeah, word. Yeah, yoga is a constant thing.
Maybe we'll do a qigong session as part of one of the episodes.
Oh yeah, I'd love to.
And you can guide people through a session.
Yeah, and I've got some simple qigong techniques that really are helpful for just like kind of loosening up and getting your energy flowing. So yeah, it's a great idea.
Dope, let's do it. Well, this one, I'm not gonna go ahead and say it's like some sort of title that's going to resemble this is going to be like some super intense episode.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it can have a lot of weight attached to it, but I don't think that's the purpose.
Yeah, word.
Of what we're trying to do here is to add on unnecessary weight to, if anything, try to find some clarity amongst all this chaos.
Yeah. I'm hoping to give a different perspective and like how maybe say some words that can help ease some people's minds and tensions right now, because a lot of people are feeling attacked and tense right now and feeling the need to express their either victimhood or their allyship with people of different races. And I'm really hoping this over the course of the next hour we can help people kind of come together and feel good about themselves and about others, other groups. And I think the tensions are kind of being overblown right now, especially in the mainstream media. It's like everything is racially charged, and it's like if something happens between people of two races, it's automatically labeled as racism, when a lot of times it's just like sick, sad people who really need help, and they're lashing out because they're hurting.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So let's dive in then, because on a personal note, I've noticed this. I've noticed that the subject of race, the subject of racism, has always been a subject that's known and I should say understood. But it wasn't until the last 2 years or so. I'm just gonna put a number on, but let's just say the last couple years. That is my bad.
Okay.
It wasn't until the last couple of years that I noticed that it ramped up to a point where that's all you heard on the top social news. If you have any activist friends, that's probably what they were going and marching for. And so you notice this sort of big rampant, like way, like it's skyrocketed, in my opinion. One, do you agree with that? And then if so, why?
So I agree and I disagree with that. I feel, I feel like it has been a topic that is on people, on the minds of certain people, for, if not years, years, if not their whole life. Like I mean, actually, I went to Morehouse College, which is a historically black college, and growing up in Washington, it's like basically like white suburbia. I mean, I grew up in Mill Creek, Washington.
Mill Creek.
At the time when I was in high school, I looked up on the city website, and Mill Creek is like 80% white and like 15% Asian, and like it was 1.25% black. And I'm biracial. My father's black. My African American. My mom's white. And so yeah, it's like I've always been very aware of racial tensions and relations. And growing up as a kid, like I'd notice, I'd be out with my dad. I'm like 2 or 3 years old, and then like I pass an older black man on the street, and he would nod to me, and I'm like. And white people didn't do that. It was like I noticed there's like this unspoken like camaraderie almost amongst black people. Even here, in Seattle, and maybe it's because there's so few black people. It's like, I don't know. It kind of builds.
I know exactly what you mean.
But
I've experienced the exact same thing.
Yeah,
so I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, word. And so it was something I noticed from a like early age, and then I actually like my childhood, I grew up essentially in white suburbia, and then so I wanted a different experience, and so I applied to two colleges. I applied to WSU and Morehouse College in Atlanta, and I got an academic scholarship to Morehouse. So and I like really wanted to go. My cousin was going there, my cousin Elkanah, and so. Yeah, I went to Morehouse, and it was a really eye-opening experience. And I can say, at a historically black college, like race is something that is like talked about like all the time. Like,
I bet.
Every day, and
I
it's
bet.
like
It's all over.
Yeah, and so like for me, it was like
because it's in the name.
Yeah, word. And so for me, it was like something that the past few years I've definitely noticed. The mainstream media trying to use it to divide people, like essentially creating a situation or anytime there's like racial tensions, it's always just like really played up. And kind of for the first time in the last few years, it's been where the story of like the victim is told, and it almost seems like it's like pro minority, or like really trying to help people who are being oppressed. But under further examination, anything I see in the mainstream media for the most part is like trying to show that racism is like a huge problem, and that everybody is like that everybody is racist,
They're
like,
instigating, not reporting.
Yeah, it's like, and so
two different things.
Yeah, and there's a lot of you see a lot of like violent crimes, and it's like we live in America. Like almost like the average person you go out is gonna be a different race than you. Like likelihood, if you go out, on the street, there's gonna be other people of other races, and so and like, and people might have prejudices and stuff, but like I feel like the people who are carrying out hate crimes, for the most part, are like very disturbed people, and they're essentially like either mentally ill or, usually mentally ill, or
and
just
that
like
runs across all races.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
one particular
You
one.
know, and so a lot of times I feel like when there's a racial, there's violence and it's between two races, it's automatically posted as, oh, it's racism. Like this was racially, like they, attacked these people because they were, this race. And like sometimes that's not it. A lot of times it is, but I feel like there's too much focus on this, on the like tension. And if you really look at it from a metaphysical perspective, the worst thing you can do for yourself or for someone else is to believe that you or they are a victim, and to really see them as being oppressed all the time, or see yourself, because with the law of attraction, you really attract more of those situations, more of circumstances or experiences that will cause those same feelings that you feel in your body. So I'm sorry, kind of just went off on it, but I do see it as being ramped up as far as like publicity in the last couple of years, and big kind of like demonstration or like big events with like George Floyd, being killed, or other, violent attacks on, minorities from police, that are like publicized, and then it's just blown up. It's literally all you hear about for weeks. And, it's like, yes, like that, that's a tragedy, but like what, just like lamenting and just like wallowing in the anguish is not a solution. I think we really need to start, seeing these problems, and let's start pointing at the solutions. I feel like the media just wallows in just, oh, this is awful, like, these people are such victims, and
Zero
like,
solution.
well, yeah, like, well, let's
and all hype.
that's awful.
All
let's
hype.
help them. How, here are 10 programs that are, changing the situation. Like, why don't we do that?
Because
Sorry.
that doesn't get as many clicks.
Word. And to follow up on the over the last 2 years, you said you've seen like an increase.
Yeah, so I mean, for a little background for people, I was born in Nairobi, Kenya, and shortly after a couple years being there, moved to Brazil, and grew up in Brazil. I was there for about 10 years. Moved to the United States in 2002, and I've been here ever since. I am 50% Brazilian, 50% American on paper, and on, I guess, blood, whatever you want to call it. And so I do have dual citizenship. I don't have it to Kenya because their rules are different. You need to have Kenyan blood from your direct descendants of your parents for you to be counted as an actual citizen. So by default, you become what your parents are. Mom's American, and dad's Brazilian.
So your mom's American, your dad's Brazilian, and both America or the United States and Brazil have like very, mixed race.
Very mixed.
So what do you know, like the racial background of like both of your parents?
Yeah, so my dad, I'm just gonna keep it simple. He's the white person on the family, and my mom is the one with more with color. She's, I guess what you would say, 50% black, and she's 50% white, because her mom is my grandma. It was 100% from Irish.
Oh.
And then her dad, 100% black from...
Wait, you're a quarter Irish?
I'm quarter Irish.
That's so dope, yo. St. Patrick's Day was like 2 days ago. We didn't even celebrate.
Yeah, I'm as much black as I am Irish.
Word, that's so dope, yo.
Yeah. And so,
I didn't know
long
that.
story short, color has been all over my family, and it's never been an issue on any level. Meaning, like, I'm trying to find a story. Like, I'm trying to find something in Brazil that happened that was just racially charged. I'm trying to find a certain situation where we're at a family gathering and somebody said something about somebody, and I just can't find it.
That's great.
And that, which is why I was so alarmed that first several years, also not that much of a thing in the first years, my middle school years here, my high school years, none of that. Sure, you hear some random shit here and there, but it was not all over the tabloids day in and day out. You didn't have this sort of over-the-top, people just wanted to just yell it out, to just hear me out type of thing. Like, and then these last 2 years, it's almost like it's a new industry. And in a way, I think I see what's happening here. Here's my personal idea as to why this is happening. This is a perfect tool for people to get wild up. And once you are in that mental state of you're wild up and you're, let's just face it, in anger, you're easily controlled.
Word. Yeah.
One of the easiest ways to control, manipulate individuals are when they're in that state. This is scientifically known.
Word. Yeah.
And so for anybody who knows anything, understands that when you are in a calm state, when you are doing this, when you're conversing, not attacking each other, well, shit gets done. And we don't listen to bullshit.
Yeah. And we actually hear each other.
We hear each other. We depict what the real bullshit really is. And we can all come to an agreement that, like, sure, we might agree to disagree, but we can all agree that there's a certain level of respect and rules that we should all abide by so we can all have a decent life.
Yeah, word. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? No, we're not asking for people to go out of their way to do extra things. Just live a life where you're not being nuisance to everybody else around you. And if your life were to be multiplied, how would the world look?
Yeah, that's a good question to ask yourself. Yeah, really.
And so, on like a conspiracy level type shit, I personally think 2020, alongside Uncle Kobe, the whole race thing was just another switch hitter they had to just throw it in the mix and let's just see how people react.
Word.
Because here's why I say this. I understand the past that is shown and told from how the country has been created and the slavery that came along with it and everything in between. I get that. But what I'm trying to understand is if I were to actually take a step back and go to some of the places in Africa, go to some of the places in Brazil, and I don't hear any of this talk while I was over there. And I come here and the situation is way better, meaning this is one of the most accepting places there is in the world when it comes down to overall ethnicities living around each other.
Yeah, yeah. Especially these days.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so this is incredible. Like you said, it's an incredibly diverse place.
Yeah.
And it's very accepting. It's a very accepting place, which is why so many people want to come to the United States to begin with.
Yeah.
So I have to beg the question. Is this really a race issue or is this a perspective issue?
You want to elaborate on that?
Sure.
Yeah.
I would love to. So I've come to find out a lot of the people that I've met here in the United States that have preached this word that just United States is just crawling with racism, systemic racism, this racism, that racism. When I've come to find out, oftentimes, not 100%, but almost, it's like in the 90+% where they didn't really get around to some of these other third world countries and then just understand that this is like, I don't think you know what you're talking about here when it comes down to people not having rights and people not having opportunities. I was like, don't come and tell me about opportunities when you grew up in the United States. I don't care if you're black, female, gay. As far as I can tell, literally I've been here for almost 20 years. No, 21. I've been 2002, almost 20 years. And I've yet to really see a systemic situation where a person, depending on their color, sex, sexual orientation, literally kept them from doing that one thing they wanted to do. I don't, because there's always examples to contradict that.
Yeah, word.
Of people who did do it, that were that color, were that race, were that sexual orientation.
Yeah.
And so
that's a really good point.
I'll be honest, like, you and I are both mixed race. You and I both don't treat people differently according to their color, but we do treat people differently according to their character.
Word.
Like, I won't speak for you, but I do.
I totally get that. And I really try to be loving and accepting of everybody. It's like if someone comes and disrespects me, then like they clearly are not, I mean, that really doesn't really happen to me, but much
But
at all.
think about it, what you just said. They're in a bad place,
But
right?
yeah, and that's it. I would see that as something wrong, that they have going on. I wouldn't take it personally, or see, even if they come and like call me the N word, like to my face, I'm like, wow, like you really have issue, it's like, and so, I mean, for that, it is perspective. And, it's like I really do believe there is systemic racism, and that in basically it'll be come down to specific people who are racist in high level positions. And then, it's like, that is like essentially like unavoidable in a system where it's, millions of people. It's like people have prejudices, and like some people just decide that they want to be prejudiced or whatever. That's like how they're going to be. But, to your point, if you're determined to get where you're going to go, like that's not going to stop you, and really for you to feel like you're victimized and like you don't have opportunity because of this system is keeping you down, for you to believe that, you create that reality with your thoughts. And that's what I like. When I talk to my friends who are activists and who are, going to protests, and then like the police basically just start like hitting people and, macing people, and like where it's like there's physical violence. I'm like, hey guys, like for you to go and experience that, you're starting from this place where we're pushing against this thing that we don't want. So you're coming with this like anger and this, this aggressive energy, and expecting a conflict, and like with the law of attraction, like you attract things based on your dominant thoughts and your beliefs. And so
and you get a bunch of people doing the same thing. You amplify all you.
And so when you're pushing against it, you're basically just giving more power to the thing you're pushing against. And so instead of like fighting against oppression or racism, or like saying, like fuck white supremacy, or like, F, whatever group, instead, like, what do you actually want to see happen? Like, don't focus on what you don't want. That's whether it's reality or not, you create reality with your thoughts. So what do you want to see happen? What group do you want to see thriving? Do you want to see yourself thriving? Do you want to see your community thriving? Like, do you want to have everybody to have food and, be peaceful and like have a sound mind? Like, that's what we should be focusing on. How can we, build connections with our community to where we're building people up and feeding them, clearing out our bodies of all these toxins. And, it's like, if you really want to talk about systemic or like racism, it's like, it's not race. It's not like, the whole system is designed to keep the average person down.
Average person, yes.
And that's where this whole like facade of racism comes in. It's like, it's another thing for them to use.
It fits in the thing. Yeah, it fits in there, so it makes sense.
Separate. Yeah. So it's
100%.
Like, yeah. So, I mean, whether or not racism is real, that's not the actual issue. And that's the thing that like, I haven't been hearing, it's like, it's funny because Candace Owens has
boss.
She has views on this that I actually a lot of times agree with, because she's saying like, hey, you believing that you're a victim and that you need welfare and that you need this government and the system, that's what's keeping you down. I don't think she's framing it in a law of attraction, like, thoughts create reality thing. Yeah, I would love to have her on here. And I have a lot of respect for her in a lot of ways. And I think a lot of her views are actually much more helpful to Black people than the average like liberal, like you're a victim and you need welfare. You need like, like we don't need welfare. Like, we are powerful people, whether it doesn't matter what your skin color is. And actually, I mean, talking about skin color, like I really believe in my heart of hearts that the only difference in race between people and skin color is a result of the evolution of people on Earth, depending on like what part of the planet you are on and how much sunlight you got. Yeah. how, what type of clothing. It's like, I really feel like for the last, 75,000 years, we've been evolving and adapting to this planet. And it's funny because like I'm, into esoteric science. I spend pretty much all my free time learning about either healing or, like aliens or, the energy system or like qigong. Basically like I want to learn the secrets of the universe. Like that's what I spend my time focusing on.
Yeah.
And in the law of one and Dolores Cannon, they essentially say that skin color is only a result of evolution. In the law of one, they basically say that people different peoples evolved their differences based on the geographic location where they were living, and essentially skin color is just a product of how much sunlight you were getting or what your environment exposed you to. And then in Dolores Cannon, it actually says that, and I think it's in the Convoluted Universe series, but it says that there's essentially two different types of apes that were
used for genetic splicing.
Essentially used to create the humans. And actually, if you look at genetics, like on the planet, there's only two genetic differences between humans on the planet, and that's people with Rh positive blood and Rh negative blood. There's a gene that's tied to the rhesus monkey, which is like, if you look at the evolution of humans, there's about 10% of the people on the planet who have a negative blood type. If you're like O negative or, like AB negative or whatever, like that's the only actual genetic difference. And they're like, people of all like skin colors have the negative blood. So it's like, if you have a negative blood type, it's about 10% of the population, but you're literally, I think like 3% genetically different from other humans or something like that. It's like, and, look into Rh negative blood if you're, interested on it. But as far as like genetic differences, that's it. Like there's not, between like different races, there's not really genetic differences other than like facial features and like skin color and stuff.
Yeah, I get it. Some people are racist. Some people picked up on habits that are very much one-sided. But I gotta be honest, they're not the majority.
Word.
By far.
Yeah, definitely.
The majority of people are not racist. The majority of people don't want to go out of their way to hate a different nationality. Most people are actually more on they don't want to experience any type of conflict.
Yeah, right.
And so, to be quite honest, the more I hear you talk, the more I hear myself talk, the more, we're going to keep diving into this, but it comes down to one thing. We're getting played.
Word. I totally agree.
We're getting played.
Yeah.
And so when you look at it, you're like, okay, even let's just say it's 100% real. It's systemic racism is 100% alive and well. Let's just go along with that story. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's just do what you just said. I'm gonna wake up, and one of the first thoughts in my head is gonna be about how today might not probably be the best day because something's probably gonna happen to me that doesn't happen to white people, but it's gonna happen to me because it's just what happens to me. Mm-hmm. Not sure what, but it will be. Something's gonna happen, right? Because that's systemic racism.
Yeah, you're a victim of the system.
Of the system.
Yeah.
So I'm in the system. And so you get out, you go out into the world, and then at this point, you're looking through the lenses of trying to find that situation.
Yeah, word.
And so you then congregate with other people who think the same. So then you reinforce each other's ideas. And then you go back home and you repeat.
Yeah. And you're on Facebook.
You're on
Twitter.
Facebook, looking at the groups, watching the videos, going to the websites, retweets, likes, shares. And so, and then you wonder why you're consumed by it. And I got to be honest, like, there's nothing wrong with devoting your life to being an activist. But I got to be honest, if you don't keep certain energies in check, you become quite hard to be around.
Oh, word.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that goes for everybody. That's not just activists.
Yeah.
But activists are pretty known to be like those type of people. You're like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, word.
And so just be aware that, too much. I pointed this out to you. At this point, it's comical when you see almost 100% of these movements doing the thing they're trying to eliminate.
Yeah, word.
Antifa trying to stop the fascists, being fascists.
Yeah, word. Or, yeah.
BLM trying to stop racism, being racist.
Yeah, word. Yeah, and like, it's one of those things where it's like, the justification is like, well, we're just,
we're leveling things out.
We're leveling things out.
We're evening things out. And then you
like,
and I both know that's not the way to go about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, because
it's this vindictive energy.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's an energetic thing, instead of dispelling that energy, it's like you basically just, amplify it and send it back, and so it gets multiplied.
And what do you think they're going to do? They're going to take it? Now they're going to come back and return.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just back and forth.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, it's funny because people, try. It's like fighting fire with fire. Like, if you go out in the real world and try to fight fire, like, you're gonna pour some, like, put something on
gasoline,
fire.
Right?
Yeah,
fighting fire with
it's
gasoline.
Like, you're basically gonna amplify the situation, and so it's the same. It's like if you're in a fight and like there's something that is another, just programming. It's another just way that humans are duped into, like these like conflict filled lives, is that we think that like when we're in a conflict with somebody that we have to get, the last word and we have to be right. And, it's like, yeah, like if your only goal is to be right, like, yeah, great, but if your goal is to actually, have meaningful relationships and like, if you want to save your marriage, like, who cares about being right? It's like you apologize like you basically are gonna come together with a person and being like, hey, like, I understand you're upset about this. I did, maybe I did this, or I didn't do this. You think I'm doing these things, but hey, I'm not trying to do these things. I'm really just trying to live my life and trying to be a good person, or trying to, do my own thing. I'm not doing any of this against you. Like, having that dialogue and having that conversation is like, that's how you're going to actually break down barriers and change things. It's like, if it's like, oh, you are racist against me, you did this, fuck you, like you need to like stop existing, or like, like end this group or whatever. And then it's like, well, what are they supposed to do with that? Where are they supposed to go? You just told me I'm a piece of shit, and so I'm gonna take that and just go, oh, I'm a piece of shit, I'm gonna go stop being a piece of shit. It's like, no, I'm not a piece of shit, you're a piece of shit, like, yeah. It's basically, if you really want to stop, conflict, you're gonna have to come at it at a different angle. It's like, or you're just going to have to leave it alone. Be like, hey, I'm sorry you feel that way. That's not what I meant, but, like, and then cut it off. And, it's sometimes if it is someone who is really abusing you, then you need to end that relationship. Like, you need to like take a stand and be like, hey, like, I'm like, you're abusing me, or like
how often does it even really like this situation that you playing out right now, like somebody just getting constantly abused because of their race. Now here's the thing.
Well,
now I've seen exactly what you just said.
Yeah, word.
I've seen exactly what you just said. I've seen actual videos of people getting beyond harassed due to their race, and we can go into that as like a segue. Like we said, any person, no matter the color, any person who's willing to be that foul towards another human being that they don't even physically know on a personal level, like you don't even have enough life events with that person to actually get to hate them. You purely base it off of the race. That's as low as as low as they come.
Yeah, word.
Now here's the thing. How about this? Because I believe we should be talking more about the mentality of what people should be doing as opposed to what we're currently, as opposed for us to just keep reporting what's going on.
We're
So I don't mind us spending more than half of the podcast talking about, guys, drop the fucking nonsense. This is how you go about these circumstances.
Yeah, word. So, I mean, actually, it's a good segue because a great way to learn about other cultures and to, basically combat racism or, like prevent racism in the first place is to learn about other cultures, whether that's through traveling, I mean, which is kind of restricted right now, or, a great way one of my favorite ways is through food. Like finding out about another culture's food and some of their traditions, and then it's like you also open things up to yourself. Like there's so many awesome things from each culture. Like, it's like when I go to the Asian grocery store or like, the Mexican grocery store, like there's certain things I can get there that I can't get anywhere else.
Yeah.
And like I'm making a papaya salad, like a Thai papaya salad, I'll go to like Lamb Seafood or like H Mart or, Awajimaya if I'm desperate. But yeah, and then...
So, did you catch yourself not going to Wajimaya as soon as Trump started calling it the China virus?
No, I mean I'm not
I'm fucking
Trump
with
guy,
you, but because that's what's being that's the word.
So
that's
well,
the
actually,
word around. Like, what do you think about that?
Because of I mean I do remember actually. I mean I saw this on the mainstream media, so I don't know if I can how much I can trust it. But apparently, like there was a significant dip in business from Chinese restaurants.
Wasn't it for everybody a significant dip?
I mean, I had
Couldn't
a restaurant. Couldn't
they just play on the words and be like significant dip in Chinese? But then you look at it, everybody took a significant hit. Word.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, to that point, like 80% of restaurants, I think, probably just like are either like limping along or just like had to close or or aren't gonna make it through the next few years.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a bit of a stretch putting the blame on Trump as opposed to the situation that was way bigger than him making that comment.
I agree with that, but he didn't do himself any favors by playing that shit up, and it's like that shit's hella tacky, yo. Like, but calling it the China virus or the Kung flu, it's like. He's especially because his supporters are very like malleable, like they
second one's kind of funny though, like second one when you hear it like it's like nah as a practitioner of martial arts, like nah yo
that's how I feel about that one. But it's like there are like people who are very impressionable, and like if you're prone, like if someone tweets something and is gonna cause you to like go out and incite violence, it's gonna incite you to be violent against someone, like you are already a freaking sheep, yo. Like you need to deprogram yourself, like
100%.
Like you shouldn't be like I mean, if President Trump had the impact of getting someone to like hate Chinese people because he called it the Chinese virus, I'm sure they were already hella racist, or like I don't think people just like all of a sudden were just like, oh, like
no, like you said, it now becomes socially acceptable to actually pull it off and go out and do it in public and record it and put it up on social media.
Yeah, so but is that like did Trump have an influence on that by, calling it the China virus or the
honestly, I mean, I can say this. Perhaps a percentage. Now, putting the whole blame on the dude because of it, I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, word.
The circumstances are too big. There's too many variables.
Plus, he said something, he could have said something a few times and then the mainstream media replayed it, 5,000 times over the course of the next
he can't win
weeks.
with them. He can't win.
So
he cannot win. Word. He literally could just try to be perfection, and he wouldn't be able to ever on any level with them. So I mean, I gotta be honest. Like this whole the new wave on the whole Asian hate crimes. Mm-hmm. So do you think a lot of those specific ones that have been getting reported over the last few months? Excuse me. Do you think those specifically were initiated in more of a Trump kind of wave?
I mean, I would divorce that from Trump. I feel
Because
like,
that shit was brutal,
yeah,
man.
I mean, I've seen it, and it's just unacceptable.
It's
It's like
brutal.
violence to me. Violence is unacceptable in any situation, but like for you to be violent against someone, and I mean, the same thing happened, to like not only Muslims, but like just brown people in general after 9/11.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
I knew a number of
Exactly.
like Indian people who or like Sikhs, who are like they basically have the same, like Judeo-Christian background in their religion, but they wear turbans, and so like they were seen as like Muslim. It's like, yo, like you guys
Yeah.
um
And so,
don't understand shit.
I've seen between that, I've seen some of the mocking as far as like gang mocking, like, and it's all like a lot of older people, like seniors,
Yeah, we're
people who really can't defend themselves the way that you should be able to defend yourselves when that type of situation happens to you. And in the worst cases, they're dying.
yeah,
And
and that's
so,
that's like the
and
worst
and
cowardice.
this is not like police brutality. This is like people.
Yeah,
The fucking people doing this to other people.
yeah, we're in.
And so, obviously there's the big one that just happened, the shooting.
So
There's
that, I
a
mean, and I don't mean to downplay that at all, but that one seemed like another very mentally disturbed individual who was like had a sex addiction. He, went and shot 8 Asian people, but also 2 white people. And I think, and it seemed like he was basically, I think, shooting people because he was addicted to sex, and like
so not a race thing.
not
He
he
was an
was probably
incel. He
actually
was an incel.
attracted to them.
He was an incel.
What's that?
Involuntary celibate.
Well, I think he was trying to make himself that. I think, well, because I mean, some of those Asian
This has
or
happened before, where
some of
guys who are like considered to be incels go out on a rampage and just kill people because
yeah.
it's such a mental takeover that they're not getting the
Well,
sexual.
he might have actually. I think he actually went to massage parlors to try to pay people for sex.
There you go. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Um, but I don't know. I'm not gonna speculate on that one. But I mean, that one, it's one of those things where it's just like, was it actually racially motivated, or is the media really
Or is
just
it
like,
sex motivated?
yeah, I really think it was sex motivated. And I think the guy, he was just mentally disturbed, and I don't think he was, but who knows? I really don't know. Shouldn't even
No, I mean
speculate
that's a
on it.
fact. He was mentally disturbed. He
Right.
killed a fuck ton of people.
Yeah,
There's nothing outside of the fact that you're mentally disturbed.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and just stamp that right
Oh, of
there
course,
on,
yeah.
on the dot. But yeah, if you have not seen the videos, if you have a weak stomach, don't go watch
Oh,
these
yeah, I haven't watched
videos.
them.
It's rough.
Yeah.
I just fell down. Like it was rough watching that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Don't watch that shit. Like, I don't fill your mind with those images. Like, the law of attraction is not, like, that's not your friend.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to see that.
And so, people dying, one of the worst news that we can talk about, if not the worst type of news that we can talk about. And going off of into this new segment, that these events erupted a lot. The majority of these activist movements over the last year plus, which is the George Floyd and the Breonna Taylor cases that are, I guess, ongoing right now. But I guess some settlements have already been gone
And
underway.
the civil suit part of it, but not the.
And actually, because when I was talking to you about it, when I found out the amount that the George Floyd case was settled with, I thought that was like incredibly high, which was 27 million. And then you were like, "Man, it's pretty normal." Then I looked it up. The Breonna Taylor, they settled for around 12 million, and that was historically one of the highest ones in the country up to that point.
Oh, wow.
And then they said that an average goes from around 7.5 to 8.5 million. So it is in the millions.
Word.
But over 20, that is unheard of
Oh, well.
in the country. That's like a record. And so my reasoning as to why I thought that is not because I was like I never even knew the number until I looked it up as far as average. But I just like, that seems high. It just seemed high.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I wonder why they're going so high. In my opinion, I honestly think the city is deathly scared that if they don't show up like they're just trying to make everything right on every level, overdoing in every sense of the word, they feel like the city's going to get just burnt down.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it'll cost a lot more than $27 million.
Yeah, we're
because they've reported the insurance companies, like I said, over $2 billion damages just in 2020.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, people are fed up, yo. It's like people are tired of seeing, black people get killed in the street.
But if you're going off of that, you say it in a way like they're literally getting looked out for. And if you look at the stats, that's not what it showcases. If you look at the actual stats of percentages of white people getting killed by cops and black people getting killed by cops, it is not a disproportional rate.
Due to the population, I think it's definitely a disproportionate.
Well,
rate.
no, it's not, because black people make up just over 10% of the population, but they make up close over 50% of the crimes.
Incarcerations and crimes, but like crimes that were
Sure, call it petty crimes, call it big crimes,
no, but crimes
whatever.
that were actually like policed.
Okay, like, are you referring like they were actually recorded? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
like
I'm
the
saying
cops
like
showed up and
there's
yeah,
like cops.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean by that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can get into the whole talk on percentages, even though I think percentages are great and the numbers are great, but numbers don't add up to people.
Yeah, we're in.
And I hate to just base people off of numbers on a goddamn screen.
Yeah, I agree.
That being said, we should assess why such a small percentage of the population is committing such a high percentage of the crimes. Mm-hmm. At that point, you have to ask the question, is it systemic racism or is it culture?
Ooh. I mean, I would say it's probably both. And
I would wager it has to be both.
I would say the cultural aspect was like an aspect of psychological warfare.
Systemic racism to add on to
well, yes. I mean, whatever you want to call it, but psychological warfare. And it's not just against black people. It's like there's, people are constantly, being incited to commit crimes or yeah, I mean, it's also like with
I don't know,
there's
man.
Also,
like,
so there's a
like,
huge there's so much that I don't even fully know about, but I can't even get into. But like, I mean, crack cocaine was one of the hardest things to hit like the black community because it basically took the the average person who was providing for his family and turn him into a drug addict.
You still need to go and buy it, and you still need to take it.
Yeah,
it's just your decision.
No, but I mean, I think
at what point does having any sort of, at what point are we going to start to take some actual responsibility?
Word.
I'm honestly tired of us making excuses for people left and right. You have to go and you have to buy the drug. You have to get the things to make it and get it all prepped. You have to do it, and then you have to repeat that over and over and over again.
Yeah.
If you get hooked, I get that. That shit's horrible for you. You will get hooked beyond belief, which is why if you look at a meth before and after, crack before and after, it is wild what 3 months will do to a crack addict.
Yeah, or method, yeah.
But at the same time, I got to go back to the whole responsibility thing. Like, I could sit here and get high on meth all day long, but I choose not to.
Yeah, I mean, but like your life isn't as tough as life for a lot of people. Life on this
that's
planet.
That's incredibly subjective. I understand that there's somebody else that has a shittier situation. We all know that.
But life in the projects where it's like you don't have good options, you don't have good food, there's no role models around you who are like doing like good things with their lives.
But you're saying like white people don't live in low income places.
I didn't say anything about white.
Well, but we're talking about race right now, and so what I'm talking about is we keep referring to low income places as if it only is about black people and people with.
That's such a good point, yo.
But that's my point is, I don't, if you look at it on a number wise, actual numbers, there's a lot of poor white people in this country.
Yeah.
Look at the middle section of the country. It is primarily poor white people.
In Washington State, it's actually, I mean, meth is a very big problem here.
A lot of white people.
Yeah, and heroin. Yeah, it's mostly white people.
That's my point.
Yeah.
And so we keep handpicking these little circumstances of throughout history, and I'm like, yes, true. But then you got to tell the rest of the story.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the point that we're coming upon right now is that it's not necessarily like against a specific race or systemic racism there, but really the real racism, and you know, that's the wrong word, but the real prejudice against poor people, and
yes.
not
so yes, exactly.
Yeah, and
you
not
call that. What would you call that? What would be the word for that? Like
economic prejudice or
yeah.
But I mean, and that's it's because as a result of the system we live in. Like, we live in a system where there's supposed to be masses who don't really, you know, accomplish that much in life, who get menial jobs and like either on welfare or something, or, you know, basically they generate profits for, you know, food companies, the medical industry, like we're basically like, you know, in the matrix, and we're being like drained, or we're cattle.
Honestly, this is actually blowing my mind away, because we are unfolding an aspect where at this point you can't deny the fact that it really isn't about color.
Yeah, at all.
It's about, one, it does have to do with I do have to mention the part character, because besides of a system that wants to keep the majority of people not wealthy, character is that thing that's going to carry you through this crazy road where you're going to build these skills, become this person that's going to have resources, intelligence, people that love you and that you love them, the whole 9 yards, and you're going to grow into a person that can't be broken that easily and doesn't need the government that easily and has all these things because of your character. Right. And so I have to stress that part, because this whole thing of like certain races don't get as much money, and they don't get this and they don't get that, and we could sit in this conversation all day long. The quickest way to just bypass all this is on an individual level. You say, I'm going to step it up.
Right. Yeah.
Not like I got to wait for my race to get it together, or I got to wait for the white people to start apologizing. Like, that's not the answer. The answer is you on a personal level, because you and I both know when you're on your vision, your path, all this stuff is noise.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, there are a lot of people here who like our purpose in life, and you know, myself included, is to help other people, like essentially achieve self-actualization ultimately.
Transcend.
But yeah, you know, transcend like the barriers of like, you know, physical life, and really to understand that there's something greater out there, and that you have a very important purpose for not just being on this planet at this time, but being in the universe. Like, you're unique, you have a unique gift. And I really believe it doesn't matter what race you are, where you're born, you know, whether you're rich or poor, you know, and honestly, in some ways, I think rich people have like more obstacles to go over, because if everything's given to you, like, you don't have to build that character. You don't have to build that like perseverance, you know, and you know, it's a lot easier if your parents are really supportive and, you know, like emotionally there for you. But a lot of rich people, like, their parents aren't there for them. They give them money, you know, but yeah. And that's the thing. It's like,
there's always a trade-off.
There's also, you know, an aspect that I feel like we should, you know, talk about. It's the same thing with me having Crohn's disease, you know, like, I really consider that as one of my greatest gifts in life, and one of the greatest blessings for me. I've been through such awful, you know, experiences because of Crohn's disease, like almost dying and, you know, puking my guts out, you know, hundreds of times, and, you know, had like shitting my pants, and like literally just like having the worst experience I could, you know, imagine. But it's, you know, going through that, it's like I can do anything. Like, you're not like someone coming to me and calling me a name. I'm just like Like what?
Yeah.
And it's led me to spirituality. It's led me to really discover who I am, why I'm here. And so it's the same thing, with tough situations. Like I really believe that people choose I think we all chose the situation we were going to come into. And so for us to go through these struggles is like a lot of that's programmed into our experience. Like we're here for growth. We're here to level up. And it's like if you're dropped into a feathered nest and everything's perfect, you got everything on a silver platter, how much are you really leveling up? It's like, are you here to have an easy time and just like not do anything, substantial?
No, it's impossible. Like if there is no friction that you're creating by default, it's the progress is not going to happen.
Yeah, it's like lifting weights, or like
it's exactly like that. It will not happen.
And so struggles are the source of your strength. Ultimately, it's like
if you look at it from the right perspective.
Right. Back to your other point, like if you have the right perspective, and so really it's going to come down to us all taking responsibility for our own lives and saying, hey, like I create my own reality. I mean, I'm grateful and looking forward to the day when the average person realizes that their thoughts create their reality and that they're in control of their life. And
100%.
And so I think that's ultimately what we need to get to overcome racism and realize that race isn't real. It's really just like a construct that we created and that a lot of us buy into.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, sure, the pigmentation is different. Okay, that's fine. But as far as like, is the decision making about that person gonna be affected by it? Not one bit.
Right. Yeah.
Now, how you go about life on your character level, that will dictate it.
Plus, and also like skin color, hair color, like one of the greatest beauties of this planet is like there's such a diversity here, It's like I love seeing, interesting people with different skin colors and hair color and eye color. And, it's like that's one of the most beautiful things about this planet and about being here is our differences make us all unique and make us all special and interesting to each other. It's like I really... I being mixed race, I love being, multiple races, and I hope that more people just like explore other cultures and connect with people of other races. And I mean, it's like at first it can be an area of like separation, but ultimately it can be something that creates interest between people. It's like, let me share the best things of my culture. And that's what I do with cooking. It's like I try to find the awesome and like the coolest ingredients, the best flavors, and like find different combinations between different cultures. Styles, it's like my sushi.
Music. I do that with music.
Word. Music's another great one.
That's one that I do with. No, I mean, I can say just like cooking, music is another fantastic way of like feeling the vibes of that country.
Word.
Like feeling like the type of stuff that you might not get. No, you're definitely not gonna get around to all of it. It's physically impossible. But bump some Russian rap. Like turn on some, what I'm saying? Like some random stuff like that. Like you'll find some interesting stuff that you're like, oh, this is kind of dope.
I'm all about it. I'm so excited about traveling, It's like as soon as the world opens back up, like there's so many places I want to go. I mean, we were actually planning on going to Rio. We were going to go to Cancun. Like
Croatia.
Our Croatia
Mexico
trip got canceled.
God damn. Okay, we're going to
Thailand.
Next episode will be it'll still be here. But the one after that will be in our new spot to be disclosed. And so I think it comes down to a few things here. I am dead set on the aspect that it's not about color, it's about character. And so if you catch yourself constantly having the cops knocking on your door, constantly walking up to you when you're in the street, well, I would actually assess, what are you doing? Because I can say this. In my early 20s, anytime I had the cops come up to me, I was up to shit. Straight up. I was up to shit.
And I would go so far as to say it was because you were putting off that vibration.
That
like
vibe.
You had that
Yeah,
vibe.
I was having that vibe. Like I was just like
You knew you were doing something wrong. And
partying, like being disrespectful, just
humans,
walking around like I own the city. You know what I mean,
Yeah,
dude?
yeah,
You
word.
know what I mean.
yeah,
And
looking,
so like
looking for trouble.
I'm looking for trouble.
Yeah.
And so my point is this. Take the color aside. Look at that part. If you find yourself doing these things and you find yourself dealing with cops all the time, address that part, and I'll tell you, almost 100% chance this part of your life is gonna disappear.
Yeah,
because it did for me.
word. And also to shift your focus, because if you're focusing on being a victim, or that everyone's like out to get you or oppress you, like that's what you're gonna attract into your life.
You're gonna get that,
and it's not necessarily gonna be in a racial form. It could be at your job. It could be, it's like you basically put that energy out and you get what you expect.
Yeah, dating apps, the whole nine. Like you literally, you can put this in any area of your life and it will fit. And so if you know you're gonna get what you think out of life, then just think about some stuff that's actually going to benefit you.
Yeah, word. And if you're interested in learning more about like the laws of mentalism, like the law of attraction, law of correspondence, as above, so below, as within, so without, all that stuff, you should read the Kabbalion. It basically outlines the laws of the universe. But
there you go.
Boom.
Well, guys, it's been a good one.
It's been real, yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff, man.
Word.
And we'll be back with a new episode next week.
Yeah, take it easy.
Take it easy, guys. Thanks for watching this episode from Appropriate Culture. If you want to watch other episodes, make sure to make your way to appropriateculture.com. You can also hang out with us in other social media platforms. They're all in the link in the description. And aside from that, if you want to listen to the podcast on other platforms like Audible, Spotify, any of those, you can also find us there as well. Link in the description. Take it easy, guys. Have a good day.